Mark, thanks for coming back.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
So you're in London, UK, and you've been doing some fantastic shows with your electronic music and talk more about now what you're going to be planning.
Well, a few years ago, I started doing 50th anniversary concerts. 2023 was 50 years of Mike Oldfield's Tubular Bells, which was the album which first inspired me to get into making music. And I did a CD of my version of Tubular Bells, and kind of at the last minute, I realized it was 50 years of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon as well.
Wow.
Now, absolutely remember Tubular Bells coming out and Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here 2 years later. But
Hmm.
Dark Side of the Moon had not made any impact on me at all when it came out, 1973. I think because it was an albums band and there was no single off it, and I just never heard a single. I was sitting there watching pop music, the
Right.
weekly chart show, but Dark Side of the Moon didn't come up on that. So I had to quickly do some versions of that as well, because I thought, gosh, there's going to be as many, if not more, people interested in that
I'm
anniversary.
sure.
And I mainly did the pieces that you could put down to Richard Wright's keyboard work,
Okay.
leaving out a lot of the very vocal pieces. So I didn't do a Great Gig in the Sky, which is, marked by that fantastic soul vocal, because there's no way I can take on that.
Yeah.
I have some singers and people who work with me, but to ask anybody to do that would be quite difficult. So I was doing Tubular Bells and about two-thirds of Dark Side of the Moon. And in 2024, I was doing Kraftwerk's Autobahn, which obviously opened up the techno pop field in
Right.
70. And in 75, I went around doing Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here. Um, so for 76, a very, very big year. It's
Hmm.
Jean-Michel Jarre's Oxygen,
Right.
um, Moondorm, and Ashlar's New Age of Earth. So I'm doing the show opening with Moons, which might not be familiar to so many people. And then the whole of the second half is Oxygen and some other Jean-Michel Jarre stuff. So the way I play concerts, because it's too cold in this country, I start about April, end of April, and I
Okay.
play all the way through summer to about end of October. And by the end of October, you can look at a journey from London to Cornwall, which is about 4.5 hours, and
Hmm.
it's absolute misery
I'm
because of
I can imagine.
weather.
So this is
So
you do this
I
at the same
stopped.
theater? Is this done at the same place, these
No,
shows?
this is all over the UK
Oh,
and
okay.
sometimes Germany and elsewhere. And instead of doing a short tour for 10 days, I just play for the whole year,
Oh,
perhaps once every week or 2 weeks.
okay.
Um, the advantage of that is, well, it's easier to book because you get all Saturdays. If you're going to go on tour for 10 days, you have to find a venue that will agree to put you on a Wednesday night and a Tuesday afternoon and this kind of thing, which is not so easy. And also by spacing it out, um, after I've done one show, I can change the music a little bit, make some more T-shirts, and print the leaflets and so on. So it's a lot more relaxed doing a show every couple of weeks.
So
And I
go ahead.
and I do it by train. I take one large case on the train with a keyboard.
I was going to ask you what you bring.
Yeah. Well, when I started doing synthesizer music in the 80s, I was taking a lot of equipment like a Tangerine Dream type setup or like this modular stuff you can see behind me.
Right.
Um, and I didn't enjoy it because, you could spend 2 or 3 hours lugging in and setting up 7 or 8 large keyboards and sequencers and drum machines. So um, my plan over the years has been to get smaller and smaller equipment setups. The difficulty was when you got very small instruments, they didn't tend to have very powerful sounds. So I used to use a little keyboard from Yamaha called the CBX K1, which had general MIDI sounds. So it had an okay piano and some okay strings and so on.
Okay.
But it wasn't the quality of having 7 large keyboards with you. But, you know, I've cut down and down over the years. And when VSTs on the laptop started to become almost as good as the synthesizer sounds, that was a big breakthrough.
I'm sure.
So cut down to a laptop and a couple of little effects. But now I go out and I take a couple of lasers and a smoke machine with me. So I've still got quite a heavy case of equipment, and I still want to cut the instruments. And I'm looking for new things all the time. And this, I'll show you now, is the big thing which has just come out. This is called X-Synth.
Okay.
Made in Germany by a company called ESI. And basically, it looks like a little controller keyboard.
Right.
Very slim and tiny, and with MIDI ports on the back. But, and I've been saying this for years, it's tiny, but it's stuffed with very high quality sounds. It just has a really good synthesizer chip in it. It's virtual analog plus some other wave shapes. So in that tiny thing, I'm getting huge string sounds, Moog type sounds, fairly decent piano, and half a dozen things. And then along with that, I take a tiny, tiny mixer of the type that's now coming out from China. They're absolutely wonderful quality. They're line mixers, basically, but they've got no bad noise output whatsoever. They're completely clean. It doesn't pay to get somebody else to get in a car or take a van all that way and come back, particularly with the cost of fuel these days. So for me to be absolutely tiny and compact and portable makes all these shows much more possible. So I've got about 12 booked for this year. But
that's great.
After I do the first one 10 days from now, I'll then make video clips of that and show those around some other venues and try and get another 10 or 15 shows in for the second half of the year. That's the other thing, you see, if you plan a short tour, then it's done. You can't get back into gear again. But now with this, I've got my 12 planned, but in a couple of weeks, I'll start looking for another 10 or 12 towards the end of the year.
How long does it take you to work on these songs? I mean, this is not easy music
well, this is how the schedule works as well. I play from April to November, then I stop through the whole of the winter to do the new music and the new computer graphics to go with it. I'll just get my computer graphics up because this is what I'm doing a lot of work on at the moment.
That is something. Well, you'd put a lot of work into this. I guess you have to make these shows work and to link everything up.
It takes 3 or 4 months over the winter. I'd just play you this computer graphic.
Sure.
You haven't got a very good view.
Look at that.
Stars blink slow in the black. Gravity whispers, pulling me back. Endless void calling my name.
And who's the vocalist there? Who's singing on that? That's beautiful.
Well, I've always worked with singers on and off, and now I'm spending a lot more time working on what's basically synthesizer music plus vocals, because you know, the mass market is always going to be with vocals and not
Of
with
course.
instrumental music. So um, when I was going around doing Kratwerk, I had various singers, mostly female, because it's quite funny to take the male Kratwerk vocals and do them with a female voice. For
Yes.
instance, you know, the hit single was The Model, but I
Right,
had
right.
sung by a female, and the song is He's a Model. So we had
Oh,
male
that,
models walking down the catwalk on video. So I've had some wonderful uh, vocalists over the years, and I am looking a lot more towards vocal stuff now, as well as a lot of continuing to do different types of instrumental things as well.
I,
So the computer graphics, it's AI packages which you have to instruct what scene to make, and then it's a big editing session with the Final Cut, basically to cut the scenes to the beat of the music.
got it.
And you know, there's new packages coming up all the time. So, I mean, I've always worked since the first days of doing synthesizer music. I've always had background visuals, so
Hmm.
that goes down to the time of sitting watching the television with a VHS tape recorder, taping nature documentaries and things, and then editing between two VHS machines and playing it back on the night. So, you know, I've worked with each generation of visuals as it's become available, the same as working with each generation of musical instruments.
I,
Roland got a bit tired of selling large keyboards, and they wanted very much to democratize music, and they put out some tiny little gadgets which were meant for complete beginners to start playing music. And I don't think it had all that much impact at the
hmm.
time. You still see things from Yamaha, like these portable, what they call shoulder keyboards,
Right.
with interactive song creation, this kind of thing. So the manufacturers certainly want to democratize music making, and it hasn't happened all that much. But now
No.
with the new generations of software, it really has got to the point where anybody at all who hasn't spent any years whatsoever learning or buying or playing
Yes.
any musical instrument
Right, right.
have a go at making something. Now, is that a good thing? Well, we don't know yet, do we? We have yet to see.
I mean, you could create, if you have a good laptop with a good memory, you could create a song quick and then tell AI to do the video for it. And then there you go. But it's people kind of can know it's fake. I mean, I think you can spot it, but I can.
The video is still a little difficult. There's nothing that you can do a single click and have a 3.5 minute video, or at least not without spending a lot of money. You then have to put in, you know, maybe $60 or $80 to get it to save a video for you. But that will come as well. At the moment, the companies which have to pay the processing time are passing on that charge. But again, the power of that is going to go up, and the cost is going to go down. We've just had, I think, in the last 6 weeks, the first AI song in the US country charts,
All
and
right.
there's now an AI song in the UK pop charts as well. I just saw something about it yesterday. At the same time, Bandcamp is throwing out as many AI songs as it possibly can,
Yeah.
and Spotify is banning and has thrown out 150,000 AI songs. But
Wow.
it's too late. The horse has bolted, because that's what
Yes.
people are doing now, and they are not going to be able to push back against that for much longer. Ever since download became popular, I've said that I wanted to stick with CD until the last CD player on Earth stops working. And
Right.
lately, I've been making CDs in this very slim, affordable format. It's
I
just a
see
little
that.
slip case. It's easy to make and it's cheap to put in the mail to people. So I've done a lot of CDs. I've done about 30 CDs in the last couple of years. But eventually, I started a Bandcamp for some other music which would never be on CD. So I
Okay.
don't mind having something available by download, but I'm not going to overlap it with the CDs if I can possibly avoid it. So I have a thing now called Astral Space on Bandcamp. The other thing is that it's for very, very long pieces of music, like 90 minutes, which wouldn't go on a CD anyway.
Okay.
Continuing to do this very,
Right.
very bass music stuff.
Got it.
But I do want to keep doing CDs as much as possible. And, I'll incorporate download accessory. Eventually, the day is going to come when you just can't do CDs whatsoever. But I mean, while I'm playing concerts, I can still sell CDs at concerts because people like to have something in their hand.
Yes, they do.
So
Without a
it
doubt.
continues to be worthwhile making CDs. You must also make T-shirts because
Yeah, that's
you
true.
make more money on the T-shirts than on the music. So
What were some of the early analog synthesizers you own that you really enjoyed? Were there any that stand out back in those early days?
the first one that I started with was a kit build from a magazine
Right,
called the
right.
Transcendent 1000 that somebody built for me. It had been designed by the guy from EMS, Tim Orr. So it was a good single oscillator monophonic synth, but it wasn't a powerful sound. So I looked at in those days, what you would do is you would look at the adverts in the back pages of Melody Maker, which
Right.
I went on to work for. I was up in the Midlands towards the north of England, and there's an advert, Moog Sonic 6 for sale in London. So I made the long trek down to London, into central London, out again
Oh,
to where this guy lived, knocked on his door. He said, there's a keyboard. So he gave me the keyboard, not a cup of tea or anything. I'd come about 400 miles. And I still have it. I can't
oh, you
turn the,
do? It still works?
I can't show you. It's the one in this
Okay.
case here because it's built into its own case and it has a speaker, and it's the one that Bob Moog used to use to do demos and lectures.
Oh,
The Moog Sonic 6, and the thing about it is it is a bit sideways to the main Moog production because somebody outside the company had done most of the circuits.
okay.
It doesn't sound as powerful as the old Moogs, but it does a lot more different things. So it does some bizarre sound effects, and I've kept it for 45 years for the
And it
benefit.
works? You haven't, it hasn't gone,
It's
we had to get
fine.
it fixed?
It's a little bit out of tune, but because I'm mainly doing abstract sounds with it, it's still absolutely fine. You can get in the back and do the tune, the span adjustments. Apart from that, I built up, when analog went out of fashion, a massive collection of all the things that people were letting go cheaply.
Okay.
And there was a good store in West London called Music and Video Exchange, and everybody went in there. Brian Eno gave his old equipment to it, Steve Hillage, all sorts of people.
Oh, okay.
So I had Steve Hillage's Mini Moog when he got tired of it. I had a Yamaha CS80, a Poly Moog,
CS8, wow, you're CS80.
very, very large things.
Yes, wow.
And, I built them up and I used them on various albums. And then, partly out of foolishness, I let them go because I thought the next best thing would be the one to have.
Yeah.
But in a sense, that was justified because the servicing now on these old things, I see people saying, well, I love my Yamaha CS80, but I'm paying to have it tuned and serviced all the time. I love my Polymode, but it's
All
not
right.
actually at the moment. You know, I love my ARP Quadra, but the chassis is bending in the middle because it's so heavy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I was probably justified in letting go of these older things.
Yeah. I had a Korg mono poly, and
Oh yeah.
I got it fixed, and I should have kept it. I love that keyboard, but like yourself, it's sometimes you
But
regret selling them.
when MIDI things came up, you had to think, well, why am I keeping this thing with no MIDI, which I can't synchronize?
Right.
So based on all that gear, I wrote my book, Analog Synthesizers,
Oh, yeah.
and
I see that.
sampled all of that. So
that.
the sampling is that there was a disc in the back of the book initially. So I'd sampled all these old things, and I've got Yamaha CS80 and other samples that I still use to this day. So the machines are still there in spirit.
Yeah. So where can we find? I guess we can find your music on on your website to buy the book, the CDs, and your shows.
It's a bit diverse. I mean, the website is markjenkinsmusic.com.
I got it right.
The Analog Synthesizers book I don't sell myself. It goes through the publisher Routledge, and it's just in every bookshop in the
So
world.
it's still available, right?
Well, what's actually happening is that we're making the third edition, which I'm
Okay.
beginning, and it's coming out in September. Now, what they'll do with the second edition, if there's any left, whether they'll sell that off cheaply, I don't know, but it's on Amazon. But I guess
Okay.
that will wind down before September. But what I've added, the second edition is about 6 years old, so I've basically added everything that happened during COVID and after COVID.
Oh, I've got it.
There's
Okay.
kind of a long gap where nobody could manufacture anything, and then hectic activity when instruments started turning up again. Of course, the other thing that happened in that period was the rise of Behringer. And when you're talking about analog synthesizers, I mean, they have absolutely dominated the field
Oh
now
my
with
gosh, they've copied
25,
everything. It's
30 different
unbelievable.
products. So, you know, the book, I say the book has got 50 pages and 5 years of updates, but it's basically Behringer.
Oh, so I want to get the updated book. I'm going to pick that up for
Yeah,
sure.
sure, have it about September time. And, you know, a lot more interviews. I updated some. I had an old interview with Rick Wakeman, but I went to meet him again and update what he was doing. Jordan Rudess on the symphonic metal side, and a lot of female artists as well, because I think I was unfair to female artists in the first editions of the book. And later on, I added a lot more. I'd also done a couple of compilation CDs of female artists, and I was surprised how many of them take to the modular systems. There's some wonderful female modular system users. So I was able to fill 2 CDs with female artists doing either modular or new age or almost progressive
Has
rock.
anybody come to your shows as a known electronic artist or progressive? Have any of them come to your shows to see this?
Well, you know, I'm all around the UK, and I'm in some very odd places. I do big churches.
Hmm.
I did a cave a couple of
A
years ago.
cave? Oh, wow.
It used to be a massive place, about 200 or 300 capacity. And what I said to people as they came in, I said, come and sit down, you know, and you can have a look around. In the back here, you can see where the cavemen lit their fires and where they kept their animals and this kind of thing. It's absolute nonsense. It was
That
an
is funny.
artificial cave. It was a tin mine.
Ah, that
So
is something.
dug into the side of the mountain, and it goes back about 300 or 400 yards. And this company had basically set up a stage inside and a good PA system. They just do music shows all the time. So from there, next month I'm in a little a chapel in the middle of a graveyard. So you make your way between the graves, find your way into the chapel, and it opens up inside, and it's got a beautiful high ceiling. I put a couple of lasers in and
Oh,
things.
that sounds great. Now, what about the sound though? The PA systems and the engineers at these events, are they, you check in
Everybody,
advance to make sure
everybody,
that they're
everybody
good?
has systems. Yeah, all these venues are doing music regularly.
Got it.
Uh, I'm doing a cathedral later in the year, but they have a good system installed. All these places are
Yeah, that's important for you.
they're taking advantage of their possibilities, and they want to make a bit of money. So yeah, they're all well equipped.
Oh,
I,
good.
I can't carry my own PA, so
No, I can't imagine that, but I'm just saying that hopefully
yeah.
these places, I'm sure, have good PA systems to.
No, I mean, some of them have very, very powerful, up-to-date systems. They've got things
Oh,
like the
that's great.
Behringer, which is a 32-channel automated mixing desk. Um, no problems with systems, and I make it easy for them. Look, I'll show you my mixer now. You'll laugh.
Yeah.
Again, from the days of starting with a mixing desk, which took two people to lift.
Wow.
This is my mixing desk at the moment.
That's it?
Now the
Isn't that
thing is,
something?
20 years ago, you could
Oh,
buy tiny things like this, and they sounded awful. They
right.
would hit, and you'd
Right.
lose a lot of the top end of the music. But this new generation now of Chinese-made compact mixers, I don't know what the technology is inside, but they are absolutely silent.
That is
So
something.
as a synthesizer mixer, where you don't need to have to adjust bass and treble very much, and you don't need built-in effects and this sort of thing,
Well, what,
something that size, and there's the connections in the back. So
and that's it, huh?
I've
Wow.
got six stereo ins,
Right.
and each channel can be switched stereo or mono. So it's quite versatile. I'm taking about 4 synthesizers, a keyboard,
And a
um,
laptop?
a laptop, something like a theremin, and a sort of effects. Well, here's my effects synthesizer. This is a tiny Euro rack system,
Oh, look at
what
that.
they call a beauty case. It's a makeup cosmetics case. So I can get a couple of oscillators and a couple of modulation sources and a joystick in that.
Oh, I see
So
that.
that's my other source, and they all go into the little mixer. So all I give the PA guy at the venue is two cables,
That makes it easy for him and you, and you're ready to go.
and then a HDMI cable for the backing videos.
Isn't that
Yeah,
something that,
so I'm
and
very, very portable, and I can set up very quickly, and I can set up in small spaces. They usually give me a little table and just on a little table.
what are the,
Then
go ahead.
the visuals behind me, I mean, some of these places have 40-foot projection screens, which is
Holy,
absolutely wonderful. So I'm sitting, I'm a tiny figure on the floor with these vast spaceships and things flying behind
that
me.
sounds
So
neat.
the bigger I can get that, the bigger show we can have. Yeah, that's nice.
How much does it usually cost to people out there to come to your shows? What's the ticket prices usually?
Most of the venues do £15, which is about 20. I mean, the actual cost of big scale uh, concert these days, I think Rick Wakeman is about 35 to 40 pounds. Gary Newman is about 40, 45 pounds. I wanted to see Jessie J, the singer. I don't know if
Okay.
Jessie falls within your
Oh, wait.
your but I think she was £125. So I don't go to any £125 concerts. Concerts expensive. Well, it's a post-COVID effect
Okay.
because bands and tour agencies lost 2 years of income.
I didn't think about that. You're right.
In the meantime, all their costs went up and they've stayed up. Fuel costs are high. So basically, it is very, very costly now to stage a big scale concert, and they want to get that money back. So,
Right. Right.
concert tickets are not going to go down anytime soon. But I keep mine affordable as far as possible to make it any more affordable.
Right.
When people start to not go, then tickets
Yeah.
like come down. We'll see. I don't think it'll ever happen now.
No. So before we go, I want to mention thank you for being on this new record. I'll see if I could share it. The picture here. Uh, here's the picture of what it's going to look like. I can see that, Mark?
Oh yes, wonderful.
Yes. Yeah. So this is what the cover is going to be.
One of the galaxies.
Yes. You're the first song. Uh,
Good.
it, and I have 10 artists on it. It's been really taking longer than I thought to get it done, but it's a real interesting record of everybody contributing some unique parts. I'm hoping to have it out. I'm going to have it on CD also, June 1st, so I'll make sure you'll get copies, of course.
Wonderful.
I
Yeah, I
want to
look
thank
forward
you.
to
You're
it.
the opening track. It's so good.
Did I end up calling it War in Heaven, or It Is War in Heaven?
It's a war in heaven.
I think I took the title off a film. I believe it was a movie, War in Heaven, but it might be Japanese. So that's
Okay.
the. But I just felt there was this sort of big portentous sort of sound to it. So I thought, oh, there's obviously something dramatic going on. So War in Heaven
It
came
kind of
up.
matches now what's going on. It's a war on earth, right? Mark, you're doing fantastic music. Everybody out there in the UK, come out and see Mark. I'm sure it's a great show. You put a lot of work into it. And thank you for doing this again. We'll keep in touch and we'll talk again, hopefully, whenever the new record's out and you have some more updates on some future shows.
Thanks, Dennis. I look
Yeah, you too.
forward to seeing you soon.
So
By the way, I know what my show is for
great.
2027.
Oh,
It's
you do?
yeah, it's 50 years of Trans-Europe Express by Kraftwerk.
Oh man, that's a great record.
And
Wow.
also for the opening set,
Yeah,
uh, what else happened in 1977? David Bowie Low, Bowie and Eno,
right.
um, Georgia Moroder and Donna Summer, I Feel Love, which I'm doing like an 11-minute version of I Feel Love. Um, a tune called Magic Fly by Space. Do you know Magic Fly?
No, I actually don't know that.
Big hit, big instrumental hit around Europe.
And the
Used as
band
a,
was called Space?
the band is called Space, not to be confused with the much later indie pop band,
Right.
uh, based by an Italian guy called Didier Malorani. The first half, all good synthesizer things, and then the whole of Trans Europe Express for the techno pop
Oh,
people. So
that's going to get people out. People love that
that
record.
that'll be starting April 2027.